The clock read 11:45 p.m. on New Year's Eve. Snow blanketed the small town of Pine Hollow, muffling the usual sounds of celebration. Most homes were lit with twinkling lights, but the old Miller house at the edge of the woods stood dark and silent. It had been abandoned for decades, shrouded in rumors of disappearances and unexplainable events. 4 friends, Sarah, Ben, Emily, and Jake, had dared each other to spend the final minutes of the year inside the house. "It's just an old building," Jake said confidently, though his voice wavered. "We'll stay until midnight, take a selfie, and leave. Easy." The group trudged through the snow, their breath visible in the icy air. The house loomed ahead, its windows like empty eyes. Emily shivered, pulling her coat tighter. "I still think this is a bad idea," she muttered. "Come on," Sarah said, forcing a laugh. "It'll be a great story to tell." Ben pushed the creaking door open, and they stepped inside. The air was stale and cold, carrying the faint scent of decay. Their flashlights illuminated peeling wallpaper, broken furniture, and cobwebs that seemed to pulsate in the flickering light. "All right," Jake said, pulling out his phone. "Let's get this over with." They ventured deeper into the house, their footsteps echoing ominously. The grandfather clock in the foyer struck 11:50 p.m., its chime reverberating through the silence. Sarah glanced at it and frowned. "That's weird. It's still working?" "Probably just wound up somehow," Ben said, though he didn't sound convinced. The group entered the living room, where a dusty chandelier hung precariously. A massive mirror over the fireplace caught their attention. It was the only thing in the house that seemed untouched by time, its surface gleaming eerily. "Creepy," Emily whispered. "It's like it's watching us." Jake smirked. "Let's take the selfie here. Perfect spot." They gathered in front of the mirror, but as Jake raised his phone, the flashlight beam caught something. A shadow moved behind them in the reflection. "Did you see that?" Sarah gasped, spinning around. The room was empty. "Probably just our shadows," Jake said, though his hands shook as he snapped the photo. Emily's eyes darted around the room. "I don't like this. Let's go." "No," Jake said, trying to steady his voice. "We said midnight. 10 more minutes." The group reluctantly agreed, but the air felt heavier, as if the house were alive and aware of their presence. The grandfather clock chimed again, signaling 11:55 p.m. "5 minutes," Sarah said, her voice strained. "Then we're out." Suddenly, the mirror began to fog up, as though someone were breathing on the other side. Words appeared, written by an unseen hand. "Stay!" Emily screamed, backing away. "This isn't funny, Jake." "I didn't do that," Jake yelled, his face pale. Ben approached the mirror cautiously, his flashlight trembling. "It's some kind of trick," he said, though his voice lacked conviction. He reached out to touch the glass, but his hand passed through it as if it were water. The room plunged into darkness. The friends' flashlights flickered and died, leaving them in a suffocating blackness. The grandfather clock struck 11:58 p.m., each chime louder than the last. Whispers filled the air, unintelligible but growing louder, surrounding them. Sarah clung to Emily, her breath ragged. "What is happening?" A dim, ghostly light emanated from the mirror. In its glow, they saw figures emerging from the glass, shadowy humanoid shapes with hollow eyes and gaping mouths. The whispers turned into a deafening roar. "Run!" Jake shouted, grabbing Sarah's arm. The group bolted toward the front door, but it slammed shut before they could reach it. The clock struck 11:59 p.m. The shadows closed in, their cold, skeletal hands reaching for the friends. Emily screamed as one grabbed her ankle, pulling her toward the mirror. "Help me!" she cried, clawing at the floor. Ben and Jake tried to pull her back, but the force was too strong. She disappeared into the mirror, her scream echoing as the surface rippled and stilled. "Emily!" Sarah sobbed, pounding on the glass. The shadows turned their attention to the remaining 3. The clock began its final chime, signaling midnight. "We have to destroy it!" Ben yelled, grabbing a broken chair leg. He swung it at the mirror, but it shattered before making contact, as if repelled by an invisible force. The clock struck midnight. The mirror's surface erupted with light, blinding them. When the light faded, The room was silent. The mirror was gone, replaced by a blank wall. The house was empty, save for Sarah, Jake, and Ben. They stumbled outside into the snow, gasping for air. The town's fireworks lit up the sky, their cheerful bursts a stark contrast to the horror they had just experienced. Emily was never found. The police dismissed her disappearance as a runaway case, but Sarah, Jake, and Ben knew the truth. They never spoke of that night again, but every New Year's Eve they heard whispers in their dreams, a countdown that always ended with Emily's scream.